How is it going, everybody? Mr. Droppin' Nerds here, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys the key things to look for when purchasing a used vehicle. Now, I do want to make it clear that I am not a licensed mechanic. However, I do have plenty of experience buying and selling cars as well as working on them, and I hope that in this video I can save you guys time, money, and headaches. So as a quick introduction, this is my 2009 Subaru STI hatchback, and we're going to be using this as a demonstration today so I can show you guys all the areas of the vehicle that you want to inspect before you purchase it. So checkpoint number one is the exterior of the vehicle. More specifically, all of the panel gaps and any dents that may be present in the vehicle. This is going to let you know if the vehicle has been in an accident at any point and how the car was treated overall within its lifetime. So the main area to consider when checking for panel alignments and gaps is typically around the front and rear of the vehicle. So you want to check where the front bumper, fender, and hood mount up to the vehicle. Now, seeing mismatched paint on any panel of the vehicle is a clear indication that at some point it's been replaced and repainted. Take a look at my driver's side door for an example. I don't know if you guys can tell, but over here it starts off blue and it slowly tapers off and changes color. This is a gray color. This is a different factory color that Subaru offers, and it's been repainted here, and they've kind of done a poor job, and that's why it looks like that. I've had the panel completely removed, and behind this entire panel was gray. So I know for a fact this door has been replaced and the color has been painted over at one point in its life, and I didn't realize that until later on in my ownership. Now, you want to pay attention to the front rad support as well. In this case, my vehicle has a front rad support that is uniform and one piece with the headlight support bracket. Now, in an instance where this may have been black or a different color, it looks like maybe it was newer compared to the rest of the vehicle, I would probably question the owner and ask if it's been replaced, and if so, why it's been replaced. That can be a good indication that the vehicle was in a front-end collision. Other reasons why somebody might replace something like that is just due to old age and rust, but typically these are usually replaced when the vehicle has been in a front-end collision and been rebuilt. One of the first things you can actually check is the engine oil. So when you take out the dipstick the first time, you want to make sure that you wipe it so that you can get a clear and precise reading. And as you can see, the engine oil on this is topped up all the way, and it's pretty clean. Another thing you might want to look for when you check your engine oil on a used vehicle is to show it in a light. If you see any kind of sparkling or anything like that, it's an indication that there's some worn engine components sitting in that engine oil, like bearing material, and that's not really a good sign. I would walk away from a vehicle that has that. Also, if you see anything that looks like this or milky in substance, sometimes it'll be a bit white or a bit more of a brown color like caramel. That's also a bad indication, because that can mean that there's coolant or water mixing with the engine oil, which is never a good thing. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to open up our oil cap and take a look inside. So as you can see, it's pretty clean in there. There is a tiny bit of moisture on the lid, but that's because I just had the car running. If you see a buildup of milky residue or moisture on the cap, there may be coolant getting into the engine oil, and that's not a good thing. That can also be a good indication that the piston rings are worn out, allowing for excess blow-by. Now we're going to open up the radiator cap, and you never want to do this when the engine is hot. You always want to do it when the engine is cooled down, because you don't want to scald yourself. So we're going to put a rag over that cap. We're going to open it up here, and you're going to inspect that cap. You want to make sure again that there's no milky substance built up, and you want to make sure that the radiator cap is actually functioning correctly, that the spring is not binding or not stuck, and in this case the spring moves freely, and the seal along the top here is in good working order. So I know that this cap is okay. Oftentimes, a malfunctioning radiator cap can lead to overheating and other various coolant issues that you do not want. So next, we're going to check on this particular car. I have a secondary cap for my coolant. So this is actually where you bleed the cooling system because this is the highest point of the system. I'm also going to check this cap and I'm going to ensure that it's functioning correctly. So as you can actually see there in the cap, that's what the color of the coolant looks like. So it is clean. And we want to make sure the same thing. We want to press on this, make sure the spring isn't binding, make sure that everything's good. And we want to check this seal and make sure that it's sealing to not let any air into the system or any coolant out of the system. So this cap is in good working condition. Moving over to the power steering system, I do have a hydraulic power steering system. Some vehicles will use an electric power steering system, but this one's hydraulic. So you want to make sure that the level is topped up to that full mark. If the level comes down here and it's low in any case, that can be an indication that there's power steering fluid leaking from somewhere. Power steering fluid should not just drop over time. That indicates that there's a leak. Now, another fluid that you want to check in the engine bay is the brake master cylinder reservoir. That is the color that brake fluid should be. It's not low, it's at the level that it's supposed to be at, and it's clean. That's what you want to see when you're looking at a used vehicle. Main thing is you want to see that it's at the full mark. But typically, if I see a brake master cylinder with low fluid, that indicates to me that somewhere along the line there is a leak or the system hasn't been bled or burnt properly, and so that is a red flag for me. Okay guys, so we're going to want to check power steering. Again, as I said earlier on in the video, some cars will have electronic power steering, some will have hydraulic power steering, and some will have an assist using both. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the car. You want to make sure that there's no unnecessary lights. If you have a light like that, that's the airbag light there. Okay, that's something worth noting as well. You want to make sure if that airbag light is on, or if there's any light related to any safety equipment on the car, such as ABS, it will not pass safety. So now that the car is started, we're going to turn the wheel all the way to the left and then all the way to the right. And what we're trying to do is make sure that there are no strange noises or whining sounds and that the power steering is okay. You also want to listen for any squealing to ensure that none of the serpentine belts or dry belts are slipping. And in my case, everything is okay. Another thing you can do while you're here and while the car is on, to just quickly yank the wheel left and right. This will give you a good indication on the ball joints and other suspension components of the vehicle. If you feel a lot of slop or any clunkiness going side to side like that, that's a good indication that the suspension or some of its components might need changing. Now, while you're in the vehicle, now is a good time to go ahead and turn on any or all of the electronics that you possibly can to test and make sure that they work. A couple of things you can do while you're inside the car and you'll know for a fact whether they work or not is play around with the climate controls. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it to full heat and we're going to turn the fan on to at full blast. Right now we have it set facing the windshield and our feet. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make that face us directly, ensuring that all the vents are open. We're going to see the amount of airflow that we get and that there is indeed heat coming out. So I've confirmed now that there's heat coming out of the car. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to move that over to the air conditioning, turn on the AC, turn on recirculation, and now we're going to test and feel for AC. And immediately it starts to get really cold, so I know that the AC on this car works. If for some reason you go ahead and turn that to full blast and you're getting very little to no airflow, that could be a couple of different things. One of the things that can be causing that can be something as simple as a cabin air filter. Your cabin air filter does essentially what your engine air filter does inside the car. It just filters the air coming from outside the car to the cabin. A lot of the time that gets clogged and neglected and people actually don't even know that they exist. And so that will hinder a lot of the airflow coming into the cabin. And if your cabin air filter is clean, well then we'd be looking at a blower motor at that point, or something blocking in the vents, which is usually rare. Another thing we're going to want to make sure we look at are the window motors. We want to make sure that all the windows go up and down. You're going to want to check the door locks and make sure that the door locks are working. So just give all the electronics a run through and make sure that everything is working as intended. Now I know that this is my personal vehicle, but I want you guys to understand and make sure that these are the things that you guys are testing. Now let's go ahead and turn on the lights and see if all the lights are working. So another thing you're going to want to look at when inspecting a used vehicle are all four tires. There is a lot of information that these tires will give you. Everything from the suspension's alignment to the condition of the tire itself. You know, I've seen a lot of different nightmare stories where people are driving on dry rotted tires and they explode down the road and they look totally fine. They almost look brand new. But dry rotted tires are a big no-no. And I will put up a completely different video dedicated to explaining to you guys how to read and understand tire wear and how to know if the tire is dry rotted or not. But we want to make sure that the tire is wearing evenly from the beginning of the contact patch to the end of the contact patch. If we're seeing bulging in the tire or cuts in the tire or anything like that, that means that the tire is unsafe to drive on. So that's going to be all for today's video. I hope this helps you guys out in your car purchasing journey. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section below like what you guys want to see going forward, or if you have any questions at all, and I'd be more than happy to answer them for you in my upcoming videos. But I'll catch you guys in the next one.